Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 4 p.m. We can see you we can see you quite clearly on the screen. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Okay. Adoption of the agenda.
That West Elgin Council hereby adopts the regular council agenda for July 18th, 2024 as presented.
The mover, Councillor Denning. Seconder, Deputy Mayor Tellier. All in favour? It's carried. Disclosure of any pecuniary interest? Okay, Michelle?
I do on the second water one. I believe Terry is aware of this and I can sign the form when I'm back in.
Okay, thank you very much. Notify us at the time.
So to clarify, that's item 4.2 South Rodney Drain.
Okay. Public meeting for consideration of the Furam Drain Engineers Report and the South Rodney Drain Engineers Report. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that?
I'll read the
please?
recommendation first, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go on then.
That West Elgin Council hereby proceed into a public meeting pursuant to the Drainage Act.
Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier. Seconder, Councillor Navakis. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Blue and Drain Engineers Report. Mike, Mr. Spree, can we have your report, please?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. Today's report is the Fleuren Drain. It's a Section 4 report. It's a new drain. Mr. Fleuren signed for it. Through his lands, he has a lot of flooding north of Stalker Line, so he signed for a drain to get relief from that. So what we're proposing to do is construct a new drain starting at the McMillan Drain and run through his lands to the north side of Stalker Line, install a large catch basin to try to capture the surface flows and prevent flooding on his lands. That's essentially the scope of the work. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Indeed, we have lots of problems with the water that comes from upstream. The road functions as a dike, and only the water is getting from one side to the other side with two culverts, and there is a drain spot beside the road, but that thing is blocked. And since 10 years, we get lots of water over our field, and it blows out the sides of the creek. The field, and I rebuilt it a couple of times, and that's it. My shock is, my question was,
excuse me, I think if you wouldn't mind, sir, would you mind, because the people on camera can't hear you, and okay, thank you.
We get lots of water from upstream, and I like to get rid of that problem. They asked if they could put a drain through my land. I said, yeah, that's okay. No problem with that. But if I see the statements, basically I have to pay almost for everything. And that's not my problem. I will give a hand to solve the problem, but to carry all the cost, plus in the future, it is a municipality drain. They have always access to my field, inspection, and all these things. That's a little bit unfair. And if you look to the drawing, there is way more water coming from beside the road, from the farm beside it even, than what is on the map. And the way it looks, something has to be done. And we are working on this already now for 5 years at least. And the simplest thing is to make a ditch on the other side of the road, and that stays out of me totally. I want to give a hand, but I don't want to build or get all the cost. That is my philosophy.
Okay, thank you. John,
Well,
John Michael, have you got anything to say about
Mr.
that?
Florin is the one that petitioned, so Mr. Florin, if he doesn't want to pay for it, he has an option of there's another meeting that we'll have, which is the quarter revision that deals with costs.
Mhm.
But if you actually don't want the drain on your property, you have the opportunity at this meeting to remove your name from the petition, and then the project won't go forward. I know that there was some chat with the county about building a drain down the road, but the county did not agree to that option. They're not going to agree to that option, so it's entirely up to Mr. Florin if he wants to proceed with this. If we stop, we take our name off the petition, and then project just doesn't get built.
Question was, are you willing to accept the drain on my land? Yes.
Move forward,
Oh,
please.
the question was, do I want to accept the drainage on my land? Yes, of course, I want to allow that, but to give me all the cost, that's a little bit strange because it is not my problem. The water comes on top. I put already a dike there to slow it down because the land is flowing away.
So, under the Drainage Act, people are liable for drains on their property under benefit and outlet. Now, that's not a discussion for this meeting, because
No.
this meeting's only to deal with the construction. Now, I should tell you that prior to the meeting, Mr. McGill, who's at the top end, he would like to change the watershed and bring his land and berm his land so that the water goes towards the McMillan drain, which would reduce the size of the tile and reduce the size of the costs in this project. So I would ask that, given that fact and given that he is going to sign a petition with the drainage superintendent tomorrow or Monday, that this drain be sent back for review, redesign. Because if the watershed area changes and he's going to construct a berm, stopping his water going onto the Tate lands and then bring it in through a new tile, then that's obviously going to affect the drain and the watershed of the drain. We had previously met with Mr. McGill and he was fine with everything. He had no concern, but now he's decided that he would like to get an outlet for his lands. His lands at the back, they don't have a legal drainage outlet anywhere. So he wants to pursue that option and he's intending to construct something directly to the McMillan drain, probably through the McCollum lands.
Okay, so you're going to look at the old project.
Yeah, I have to,
with
because-
different eyes and
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, I have to, if the watershed changes that much, I have to relook at everything. Yeah.
okay, thank you. Anybody on council like to make a comment? Yes,
I just had
councillor
a,
Navakis?
I just had a quick question for Magda. If the community member decides he's changed his mind and Spreet has done this work, does the municipality eat the engineering costs on this preliminary drawing, or does that go to the tax rate payer?
Through your chair, it goes
Yes.
to the petitioner of the petition.
The cost does, yeah.
Yeah.
Any more questions from council? Seeing none. I think we better have a recommendation, please.
That the Council of the Municipality of West Elgin hereby receives the engineer's report as prepared and presented by Mr. J.M. Spreet, professional engineer, and that council direct the engineer to take the report back for further review.
Thank you. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Statham. Seconder. Councillor Denning, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you very much. That brings us on to 4.2, South Rodney Drain, Engineers Report. If you wouldn't mind, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is a combination of a section 4 and 78 report. It's for the South Rodney Drain. The South Rodney Drain was originally constructed in 1965, and the area's changed a bit since then. There was a request to extend the drain at the top end for some development on branch 2. And then further to that, there has been a long history of the drain downstream not functioning properly. It doesn't have enough capacity. In 1980, there was an investigation, in the 1980s, there was an investigation as to, what needs to be done. And it was determined that the drain essentially downstream of Pioneer Line is undersized. There's just a lot of water that comes down through there and there's just not enough capacity. So what we're proposing to do today is to start with reconstruct the drain basically from the hill drain and the Kelly and Toth lands, and then run up through those lands parallel to Furnival Road for a fair stretch, across Pioneer Line, and then go easterly for a distance of about 60 meters and connect where the junction of the two drains are, because right now we have a 10-inch tile and a 10-inch tile coming together, going into a 10-inch tile leaving. And there's just not enough capacity. And then we're also going to incorporate, there's a drain that was along the road, an existing 10-inch drain that ran along the north side of Pioneer Line from the junction point east. That was I guess you'd call it a county drain, but we're going to make it a municipal drain so that people there have a legal outlet. So essentially, we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to install 24-inch pipe, and then we're going to install some 750 millimeter diameter 30-inch pipe across the road, connect everything back up, and I think it's going to provide a lot more drainage capacity for the entire watershed area. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the public first?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
My name is Dave Kelly. I'm the owner of the property that where most of this work is going to be done. I guess my biggest concern is right now, it is proposed to be zoned residential, approximately 18 acres. And I'm in contact with Robert Brown every second week. And it's gone on since February, March, April, May. Oh, we should know by the end of the month, it's going to be zone residential. It's going to be zone residential. The last time I was talking to Robert, he says, Dave, I don't want to speculate anymore on when it's going to get zone residential. I'm going to throw out a lot of money here to have this drain moved, so it could possibly be residential. Plus, it's going to be a special sewer pipe that's about $77 a foot to put in. A lot of that I'm going to bear the cost of. If it doesn't get zoned residential, I'm going to be out a lot of money. But I want the drain to go in and everything. It's a necessary thing. We need to build houses in Rodney, etc. But as of right now, there's no advantage to me to have this drain moved. Like John said, the drain is going to be moved so it parallels Furnival Road rather than coming through the field right now is where it does. Well, it's nothing you can do about that.
No, I understand.
It's just a big concern that I have, because I'm gonna bear brunt of the cost of this.
As Dave said, the drain does run further back in his field off his property. So if there were ever lots along, and I guess that's the intention, lots along Furnival Road, the drain would not be in an ideal spot. I mean, it would probably be right where all the foundations are.
Engineered and redone.
Yeah, and redone. And so at this time, we're moving it, 5 meters off the road. And Mr. Kelly's paying the increased cost for sealed pipe, because if there's going to be lots, we can't have concrete drain tile that we usually use. We need sealed pipe because it prevents tree roots from getting in, and you can build driveways over it and all that stuff. So he's going through all that expense at this time because it makes sense if you're doing it. So that's just some background on why we're doing that design at this time.
Bill, have you got a question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair, and thank you, John Michael. Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for the comment. Do we have any insight at this point, any update as to when we should receive final approval for the official plan?
Through the chair, not at this moment. It should be going to county council within the next few weeks, but I don't have the exact date.
I certainly.
Oh, Robert is
I
there.
certainly can appreciate your concern, Mr. Kelly, about this whole chicken before the egg concept. And I don't think that there's anything formally that we can do to provide you with any sorts of guarantees other than to say that in the past, throughout this entire official plan process, the current West Elgin Council has been very, very excited and supportive of the new proposals that our planner has put together for us. So that's all I can say.
The official plan's been forwarded to the county. I'm at the county on Tuesday. I can bring that up. I can understand there's a situation here.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I could add that, you know, I mean, if we pass this today, you know, we still have another meeting in 30 days.
Yeah,
And, you know, if we had to change it then, we could change it then if for some
yeah.
reason.
This is the start, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the start of the process. So, you know, we could proceed with this and, you know, we still have, there's still some other steps in the process.
I'm okay with all this. It's just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if it doesn't happen, I probably won't be okay. with
No,
it.
Yeah,
no,
no, I understand.
we understand that entirely. But to keep maybe to keep the process rolling, that we should go along with what we see today.
And I guess if it doesn't happen, the drain still needs to go, but we would change it to a concrete pipe down through there, you know, so, yeah, so we would do that.
There's no more, anyone from council? Any more comments? No, seeing none.
Drain is running. I've paid it to be moved, because it runs directly through my field.
Okay, we've got to carry on with the meeting. So I need the recommendation, please.
Was there any more members of the public that would like to come to the podium and speak? The recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of West Elgin hereby receives the engineer's report as prepared and presented by Mr. J.M. Spreet, professional engineer, and that council authorize staff to initiate the tender process in accordance with the Drainage Act, if required, for the reconstruction of the municipal drain known as the South Rodney Drain, to be considered by council following the quarter revision, and that the quarter revision be scheduled for Thursday, August 15th, 2024 at 3:30 p.m., and that council consider the provisional bylaw 2024-52 as presented in the bylaw portion of the agenda for the first and second reading.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Denning, seconder. Deputy Mayor Tellier, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you. So that brings us to 4.3, adjournment of the public meeting of the Drainage Act.
That West Elgin Council hereby adjourn the public meeting pursuant to the Drainage Act.
Mover, please. Councillor Statham, seconded. Deputy Mayor Tellier, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you. The public meeting for the consideration of the zoning bylaw amendment application for D-14-5-2024 19911 Pioneer Line.
That West Elgin Council hereby proceed into a public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning, seconder. Councillor Statham, all in favour? It's carried, thank you. We go to 5.1, planners report. Evening, Robert.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council.
Would you please give us your report?
Certainly. The report before you is a result of a condition of consent file E3624 that was approved by the Land Division Committee back in May of this year. Most of the requirements on this are fairly standard in terms of The severed lots rezoned to recognize it's now non-farm use. And the retained farm parcel is rezoned to prohibit any future dwellings, but still continue farm uses on the property. The only real difference in this application from a zoning standpoint is there are 2 storage sheds and a significant grain storage facility that are being retained on the remnant parcel. And because of the challenges trying to locate the lot line, kind of separate the lot away from those buildings, it required addressing a couple of site-specific items. The first one was recognizing a reduction in the setback of the dwelling along the westerly side. Normally, the side yard setback is 7.5 meters. In this case, it's 5 meters. That was essentially a side effect. There's a laneway that goes onto the remnant parcel back towards the bins, and they were trying to keep the lot line away from that. And then also because the storage buildings are located behind the house, they too are also closer than the norm. So there was a need to recognize a reduction in the setback as well on that. So both the severed parcel and the retained lands have a site-specific zone to address those setback reductions. Notice was circulated to the neighbors. We haven't received any concerns or comments from anyone, as well as outside agencies. No concerns or comments on that. And internal staff, of course, was circulated, and again, no concerns that haven't already been addressed through the consent conditions. So unless there's questions from council or the public, that is all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comment from council? Seeing none. Could I have the recommendation, please?
Prior to the recommendation, I'll just note that there was no comment received at the municipal office. The
Okay.
recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Robert Brown, planner, regarding zoning bylaw amendment application D14 5-2024 19911 Pioneer Line recommendation report, planning report 2024-17, and that West Elgin Council approve the rezoning of 19911 Pioneer Line from general agricultural A1 zone to agricultural special regulation 1 A2-1 and restricted agricultural special regulation 9 A3-9 in accordance with the attached draft bylaw. And further, that West Elgin Council consider the proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw presented in the bylaw portion of the August 15th, 2024 council agenda.
Could I have a mover, please?
I just want to make a note
Sorry.
that should be the July 18th.
Okay. Mover, please. Councillor Denning. Seconder. Councillor Novakis. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. That brings us to adjournment of this meeting.
That West Elgin Council hereby adjourn the public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Statham. Seconded. Deputy Mayor Tellier. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Is everybody okay before we go into close? Or you want to go into close first?
Go into close.
Okay, 6 is the closed session.
That the Council of Municipality of West Elgin hereby proceeds into closed session at 4:23 PM to discuss matters pursuant to the Municipal Act, Section 239-2C, being proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of municipal land, and Section 239-2D, labor relations or employee negotiations.
Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded by Councillor Statham. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. If anybody wants a break, we're going to have a 5-minute break. So we're reporting from the closed session. And I go to 8. Adoption of the minutes. Okay.
The report from closed at 4:47 PM. is that council received two items pursuant to the Municipal Act, Section 239-2, resulting in the following recommendation. That West Elgin Council received a report from M. Badura, CAO Treasurer, regarding pay equity adjustment, and that council approved the necessary adjustments as presented.
Because we need a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Statham. Seconded, Councillor Navakis. All in favour? It's carried. Okay, so now we go to the adoption of the minutes. Adoption of the minutes.
That West Elgin Council hereby adopt the minutes of June 27th, 2024 as presented.
A mover, please. Councillor Denning. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Tellier. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Committee and board minutes.
That West Elgin Council hereby acknowledge receipt of the minutes of the Recreation Committee, June 10th, 2024, and the Old Town Hall Committee, June 25th, 2024, as presented.
Can we have a mover, please? Councillor Denning. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Tellier. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Businesses arising from the minutes. Any business arising from the minutes? No. Staff reports. 10.1 planning. Minor development agreement. 10153 Dunborough Road. Robert, please, would you shed some light on this one, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. What's before council today is a request from a property owner that owns a 44-acre farm parcel on Dunborough Road. There is an existing dwelling and outbuilding on the property. The landowner submitted application to construct a second dwelling on the property. However, they would like to remain living in the existing dwelling while the new house is under construction. This is not all that unusual in agricultural communities. And generally in the past, it's simply been a matter of when the permit is submitted, quite often building departments will simply make a note on the permit that the existing dwelling is to be removed. So effectively, you're kind of saying, we're letting you do this despite the fact that the zoning only allows one house at a time. They're probably taking the position, though it's not technically a house until it's fully constructed and can be occupied. However, there has been some instances in the past, not in West Elgin, but other municipalities, other building departments have been incurring some problems in terms of enforcing that removal at the end. Some people either just don't do it, they run out of funds, they don't have the ability to remove the dwelling, or just ignore the municipality. So in going forward, there's been a need to formally have these applicants enter into a development agreement with the municipality, just to clearly outline that once the new dwelling is constructed and can be occupied, that the existing dwelling has to be removed within a timely manner. Usually that's within a certain number of days of them receiving their occupancy certificate, somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 90 days, or within a year of the development agreement being entered into, that dwelling has to be removed. The other part of this is we're also requiring that applicants provide a security deposit. That essentially covers a municipality in the event for some reason they decide to default on the agreement or move or something happens. We have the ability to then hire a contractor and have the dwelling removed. In this particular instance, the applicant has, I did advise him that normally what we collect is somewhere in the range of about $10,000. Believe it or not, that is roughly about what it costs between the bin rentals, the excavator, and the tipping cost to remove most dwellings from a lot. I did, however, say to him, if you can provide me with an estimate that shows me otherwise, I can certainly entertain that moving forward. So So unless there's questions from council on that, that is all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions? Yeah, councillor Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. I apologize. I feel like I'm monopolizing the meeting here. Mr. Brown, thank you. The resident in question did reach out to me to have a discussion about this and said you were absolutely nothing but incredibly helpful, and I just wanted to pass that on to you. He did note, however, that the note that we put on the permit that disappears once the second dwelling or the old dwelling has been demolished was something that was unfamiliar to his legal and to his lender and caused him some slowdowns and some issues. So is this a new process that has been implemented by municipalities to protect themselves? And is that perhaps, in your opinion, why certain lenders or legal are questioning this process?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Denning. Yeah, I believe it is fairly new. It's something I was dealing with it in a former municipality that I was with probably in the last 2 or 3 years. It's not terribly common to see this, and he did express those same concerns to me. I think primarily it's just the banks are concerned, obviously, that we're on there, but I did explain to him the way in which this agreement is structured is it basically says we don't have an interest in the property. We're just formalizing that you understand that this house has to be removed, and that we're technically allowing you to kind of violate the zoning bylaw temporarily while it's under construction. We have no financial interest in this in the sense that we're collecting a security deposit, which you will get back once the house comes down. So I think it's going to be just a bit of a learning curve for both the lawyers and the banks to understand that, the municipality's not trying to not trying to hold something over them in terms of, clouding up the title or impacting their ability to get a mortgage, just kind of, covering our backside so that we don't end up getting into an enforcement issue and piling up legal bills trying to go after somebody to get something down that should have come down as a result of them entering into an agreement with the municipality to do so.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions? Yes, councillor Statham.
Through the chair, just a question for you, Robert. In the event that a resident decides to not remove the structure, what would be the process? What would happen if they didn't take down that dwelling? Is the municipality at all liable? Do we have to remove it? Like if the events that you were talking about earlier, where this has happened in other, what's the outcome of that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Statham's question, that I have experienced it once. Thankfully, after we provided a letter to the applicant saying, it's been 6 years and you haven't taken the house down, you've got 90 days. And the excuse they gave us was essentially there's a conflicting gas line. They had run the gas line from the existing house to the new house, and it was all tied up. And we said, we don't care. You said you're going to take it down, get it down. And they did it. I've had newer ones where the house was built, and once it was built, they took it down. We returned a deposit. Everything was good. That essentially, if this did happen, if somebody didn't take the house down, we would advise them that they're in breach of agreement. They're beyond their expiry date, and we'd likely have to give them a time frame and say, okay, in the next 30 to 60 days, remove the house, or you're going to forfeit your deposit, and you're going to see an excavator and bins show up to take the house down beyond that time frame. So we'd warn, you're going to get one warning, you're in breach of agreement, otherwise you're going to lose your deposit.
If the deposit covers the cost of doing that, then it seems reasonable to me. It's a reasonable request. So thank you.
Any more questions? Seeing none, thank you. Can I have the recommendation, please?
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Robert Brown, planner, regarding approval of minor development agreement for property located at 10153 Dunborough Road And that West Elgin Council approve the proposed minor development agreement to temporarily permit a second dwelling at 10153 Dunborough Road during the construction of a new dwelling on the property, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the minor development agreement and registered said agreement on title.
Move it, please. Councillor Novakis, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Dedication and establish of public highway Collie Road, Creenan to Stalker. Robert, you're back on again. Could you please carry on?
Will do. What's before council here, is the result of a severance application that occurred on Coley Road about a year ago. And in the process of attempting to clear the conditions and close the deal and transfer the lot, the lawyer for the lot owner discovered that a portion of the Coley Road road allowance, although it had been conveyed from a private landowner at the time to provide for a road to the former Aldeboro Township, there was no record of a dedication bylaw having been undertaken to establish it as a public highway. I have seen this before. I haven't seen one that went on for 137 years, though. Usually this is something that gets missed in new subdivisions. Paperwork gets lost and a road doesn't get dedicated. And it's usually a very fastidious lawyer that finds the problem. And the easiest way to correct it is to bring forward the dedication bylaw that likely should have occurred 137 years ago and dedicate the road as a public highway. In this particular instance, the majority of it is municipal road allowance that we've been maintaining for that time frame. There is a small section of it, however, that's county road. We're going to pass this information along to the county and say, you might want to look into your little piece of this puzzle and dedicate it as well. But to clear up the issue with this landowner, our portion of the dedication bylaw will rectify that situation, and then the county can do as they want going forward. So dedication bylaw has been prepared and is with council. So unless there's questions from council, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Any questions from council? Seeing none on this, can I have the recommendation, please?
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Robert Brown, planner, regarding dedication and establishment of public highways, Coley Road, municipal portion of PIN 35144-0101 between Creenan Line and Stalker Line, Planning Report 2024-22. And that West Elgin Council approved the dedication and establishment of a public highway for the municipal portion of Coley Road, property identification number 35114-0101. And further, that West Elgin Council consider the bylaw to dedicate and establish the above noted portion of Coley Road as public highway as presented in the bylaw portion of the July 18th, 2024 council agenda.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Statham. Seconded. Councillor Denning. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. We go on to 10.2, which is building. Monthly building report and comparison to June 2024. I take it we all seen that in our any questions on it? Can I have the recommendation, please?
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Corey Pemberton, CBO, regarding building department summary report for the month of June 2024.
Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you. 10.3, fire. Monthly fire activity report, June 2024. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Council, and through the chair, I'll just highlight a couple quick items in the monthly report. Members of the fire department were able to travel to Elmer, to the Ontario Police College to participate in training at the Mobile Live Fire Training Unit, which I think all the departments in the county did. Had a pre-construction meeting for the joint tanker order, so that process has begun. And lastly, congratulations to the 3 recruits that have graduated from the NFPA 1001 recruit class. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Yes, Miss Councillor Denning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for being here, Chief, and congratulations to the recruits as well. That's very exciting. So nice to see. I know when I was on the fire department, whenever we get somebody a little younger on, we were all pretty excited about the possibility of not doing some of the things that we were expected to do. So I'm just curious with your new role of looking after things in Southwold, Dutton Dunwich, and West Elgin, how that's going for you, and if there has been any impact on West Elgin from your perspective with your additional role.
Sure, thank you. And through the chair, I think it's been a positive so far. It's obviously early. Well, it's been a few months now, but we've had the one plus for West Elgin for all parties was the additional admin support, which with records management and reporting has been a big plus. And also we've done already 1 or 2 joint training sessions with both departments. So, and there's been some interest to kind of continue that and do more. I mean, it's not a new concept, I think, but I think there's more of an appeal for it going forward. So I think that's a plus as well.
Thank you. Any more questions for Jeff? Yes, Councillor Statham.
Through the chair, thank you very much, Jeff. Congratulations also to the recruits. That's amazing. I had a question from a resident recently regarding the purchase of the new tanker with respect to how the fire vehicles are inspected and how I'm not exactly sure how it works with your inspections, but the gist that I understood was that the existing tanker that we had didn't require some level of inspection on a regular basis, while the new tanker would. And I just wondered if you could comment on that. I might be completely wrong about that, but again, it was a question that was brought forward to me by a resident. So
Sure, yes, thank you. And through the chair, yeah, there is. So that the difference between the current tanker and the ordered tanker, I suppose, is the difference of the pump. So the new tanker has what I'll call an onboard pump on it, smaller than a frontline pump per se, like a pumper. It's not our frontline pumper, but that pump requires annual pump testing. So that would be the main difference. The annual Ministry of Transportation annual is no difference. The maintenance is no difference, but the annual testing of the pump, which I think off the top of my head is around $550, I believe. For the annual test would be the difference.
It's a very minimal cost. Is the plan to keep the existing tanker truck within the fleet, or is that something that's going to be sold for surplus? And just curious.
Yeah, for sure. Through the chair again, the plan would be at the time, obviously we'd bring a recommendation to council, but the plan would be to surplus it and sell it and put there's minimal value there with that truck, but any proceeds that we could get, I would recommend we obviously put towards the cost of the new tanker.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any more questions from council? Seeing none, could I have the recommendation, please?
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the monthly fire report for June 2024 from Jeff MacArthur, Fire Chief, for information purposes.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Nabakis. Seconded. Councillor Denning. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Incident summary report.
Sure.
Jeff, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, thanks again, Your Worship, and through the chair to council. I've attached a incident summary for last year, being 2023. As you'll see, the calls were up significantly from the year before, and a good percentage of the years before shown in the chart there. Always like to highlight the estimated property saved. So it's a lower number than some years, but we had lower loss as well than some years. So there's still considerable, over $750,000 saved by the firefighters. And the attachment, I should say, breaks down the types of calls for the year. So there's a couple higher there. Obviously, we have fires with a vehicle and a couple structure, alarm system, equipment malfunction. So that malfunction that can be as simple as there's a few commercial alarms in there, but it can be as a good percentage of those would be your single family home alarm, expired alarms or low batteries, etc. And vehicle collisions, and then there's also extrication. So that composes a big part of the call percentage as well. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Councillor Denning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks again, Jeff. So 2023 would have been the first year of the newly implemented immediate response to medical calls.
Correct, to the chair. I'm trying to think when. I'd have to look back, to be honest. It was partway through the year. I think it was early in the year when we put the new tiered response agreement in place. I don't off the top of my head know exactly which month that was, but yes, that was the first year. During that year is when we implemented it. So, and just on the note, if I may, there's I believe it was about 16%. So the bottom, I know they're broken down, but the bottom about 10 or 12 of the call types are medical calls. And we do track ones that we have basically no assistance to. So there was 5 of those, but overall, I think it was, sorry, I had it here a moment ago. I think 16% of the calls were basically medical calls, which for a partial year, I thought was quite reasonable. There is fire departments, just kind of for reference, fire departments in Elgin that run 40, 50, 60, up to 70% medical calls. So I think we've tried to really find that balance where we can be of benefit, I guess, to the residents.
Any more questions? Yeah, Councillor Novakis, please.
Thank you. Jeff, I just had a few questions. So we had 39 hours of authorized burn calls. So that means that we've authorized a fire and a neighbor has called and complained. Is that what that is?
Yeah, so there's 4 calls there. So yes, basically that would be a couple things. Either they didn't call it in to activate it is one possibility. Another possibility is somebody thought, hey, you know what, they're burning something that they shouldn't be, that isn't on the permit, which does happen the odd time. So those would be the 4 incidents. And 39 hours, it's interesting because it off the top of my head, I believe one of those probably what came in as a possible structure fire due to dark smoke, black smoke. So then you get in that scenario, you get a full station turnout, or dual station turnout. So it's interesting. I would agree how quickly the hours add up, because if you
Sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
So, and then I'm also looking at 31. So we have alarm system equipment failure, 32 alarm system equipment accidental activation. I'm just wondering, because looking at your numbers, we're up over last year, which means to me, if things stay the same, that next budget time, we are going to be looking at yet probably another increase for the fire department. I'm wondering for how many of the vehicles we attended were residents of West Elgin. And I'm wondering if we as a municipality have ever looked at similar bylaws to things that have been instituted in other municipalities for calls that we go out to that are system failures of the building, or that, for example, they didn't take out the correct burn. So our municipality is paying for calls that we shouldn't be going to.
Sure, and thank you. Through the chair, a couple of notes there. So there's obviously more than one school in the municipality, but there is a school, for an example, that we've gone to multiple times. The bylaw in regards to and there's nothing I believe in place for, I'll call them nuisance alarms. That's something we could consider and then you would potentially bill it out at MTO rate, possibly, right, and I would suggest, we would consider, not just once, but I'm not sure the frequency off top, but basically build it into if it's a frequent flyer, if we're going there regularly, then we could definitely consider something to council for recouping some of those costs. A lot of those, kind of a side note, one of the alarm system, so a smoke alarm in a single family home does fall into that category. So it's something that it's a good opportunity to highlight that we do still see frequent expired alarms, non-functioning alarms in single family homes, missing batteries, low batteries. So that there is a portion of those calls that is attributed to that, which comes back to pub ed. So we really need to continue our pub ed on alarm sounding. In regards to the vehicle, and I think vehicle collisions, is that part of yeah.
I was
So
just wondering how many were not residents of West Elgin, that if we
Yeah.
have a bylaw, we could be recouping some costs.
We do, and so we recoup the costs from our coordinator recoups the costs from 401 incidents, so MTO controlled highways. Obviously, there's a portion, a good percentage that aren't on the highway, and the bylaw does support recouping those costs as well from, and I don't know if it's worded non-residents or not. Usually, that's a distinction that the non-residents. And that's something we could bring back to council, but there is that option there. Some fire departments in Elgin are doing it. I don't know how many off the top of my head that are billing non-residents to recoup those costs. So yeah, that is another option we can definitely look at.
Okay, councillor Statham.
Yeah, thank you. And through the chair, Jeff, I just wondered, you mentioned that there was, you sort of alluded to repeat offenders where, an alarm system is going off continually over the course of, a period of time and bringing you guys out there to deal with calls that are not being, that are not necessary. I just wondered, is there a tracking mechanism in place? Do you guys keep track of that? And if there's a particular business or residence where you're continually attending, is that something that you guys keep track of and sort of bring that to light, so to speak?
Yeah, for sure. Through the chair, yes, easily. So every incident has I guess there's a few MVCs that won't, but generally every incident would have an address attached to that, which is part of the reporting that goes into FirePros, our software management system that we use, and actually this report in front of you is generated out of FirePro, so we can easily pull up either an address or a street or a call type and find that information quite quickly. I will say, like, of our frequent flyers, probably 3, maybe 4 times in a year would be the maximum. So I wouldn't say there's somebody that we're going to every week or every month. It's kind of a combination of a few different facilities, schools, and businesses that kind of make up that together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Jeff. Thanks. Just a quick follow-up. The 2 calls that Councillor Navakis was referring to, were those sort of repeat offenders, or were those kind of a one-off?
My apologies. Sorry, which 2 specifically?
So there was the one call for the it was a burn permit that was attended to, and then there was the other call reported as a structure fire.
Yeah, yes. So I do. We typically will, depending if it's first time there, it depends on the situation, I guess. But we will often go. Myself, actually, to be honest, will often go out. I can think of one, and I don't know if it was in 2023. It might have been late in 22, but one that was quite visible from Highway 401. Again, they had a burn permit in place. They were burning items that they were not on the permit to burn. So I went out there and had a little chat with them, and I believe we either revoked that permit or probably let them burn it out without any further burning. So I think, I believe that the knowledge around the municipality is generally like that the fire department has a burn permit system in place, and it is kind of keeps tabs on who's burning what. So can it be improved? Always, but we do try to keep an eye on it.
That's great. I think my point really to Councillor Navakis's point as well is just if we're spending 39 hours of your time and your department's time going to a call where we've been there multiple times already, I would like to see those costs transferred back to that individual who's repeatedly costing the municipality a significant amount of money. So that was just the point. That's what I was getting at. So I appreciate the insight there. Thank you.
Sure, and we follow up maybe formal in the future. But is there anything just today talking that council would like? Is there anything in mind, frequency or a time window, or is that kind of our best judgment? Or I'm wondering if there's any general direction on that.
Councillor Navakis.
I'm almost wondering if we could ask staff to investigate other communities' bylaws, just to see what they are possibly doing. And then Jeff, I'm wondering for staff direction, with the 98 hours done for EMT calls, is there any way for you to compare that for me? Or give us a total budget on what it's costing us? There's a lot of that would be the downsizing from our provincial government, just so that our community knows what we're taking on.
Yeah, for sure. Understood. And we can break it down to, like I said, we do track the calls that we basically were not needed, to be honest. But and we are fortunate, West Elgin, to have a base in Rodney. But there is obviously times that the ambulance is not at the base in Rodney, and we have seen some significant delays at time with EMS response times, not unique to West Elgin, but yes, we can definitely pull together some follow information.
Any more questions from council? Seeing none, could we carry on with the recommendation, please?
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the 2023 incident summary report from Jeff MacArthur, Fire Chief, for information purposes, and that council requests staff to investigate a bylaw and policy for nuisance calls.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Navakis, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you. 10.4, we're going to the clerk. 10.4.1, backyard chicken survey results.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is brought to council today. Just a little bit of background. In March, it was a motion was brought forward by Councillor Navakis to look into the potential for backyard chickens within the municipality. And in May, a little bit of information was brought to council, and then council had directed to allow the residents to participate in an online survey. So this report is brought to council today just to obtain some further direction from council which way they would like to go. The results from the survey are attached to the report. There was quite a bit of feedback, certainly received quite a bit of responses. So again, just a couple things to highlight that were put into the survey that council would need to determine if we are going to move forward with this and create a more comprehensive policy regarding licensing fees, the number of chickens per lot, per size of lot, how that's going to look. Certainly there was some concerns being brought forward from residents about the amount of dogs and cats roaming around the municipality, and now having chickens also roaming around the municipality, how that's going to be enforced. Again, our bylaw enforcement is only in the municipality 1 day a week on Tuesdays. So if this goes forward, there's potential that we will have to increase bylaw enforcement hours. And then also to keep in mind the recent the dog attack that we had on some poultry. Of course, that's something that's going to have to be kept in mind as well, as the municipality would be responsible if a neighbor's dog were to jump the fence, get a hold of any of the chickens, of course, we can go back on them if we do know who it belongs to. Some other things to keep in mind as well. And if Robert has anything to add to it, certainly, Robert, you can jump in at any time, is the zoning amendment that will have to be put in place. This certainly won't be just a simple, yes, you can have chickens. There will have to be, again, a very comprehensive policy put in place, but it also is going to we're going to need to have it matched with our zoning bylaw. Robert, was there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think you've generally covered it. It will take some amendment to the zoning bylaw. Certainly I've got another item with auxiliary dwelling units on the radar as well, so it could be coupled with that. But there would certainly have to be some adjustments to our current bylaw to make sure we're clear to folks what can and can't be done and where it can and can't be done.
Okay, I'm gonna Councillor Statham.
So I was a little bit, I read through all of the comments and I looked at this pretty in depth. I'm a chicken owner myself. We have a number of them at the property here. And I was interested that the results of the survey overwhelmingly supported having chickens in town. And yet all of the comments were comments that reflected that, people had concerns about it. So I just wanted to sort of put that forward, that we had broad support across the municipality, but when it came to the comments, a number of them were related to enforcement, and I think that's something that we can overcome. And I would just put it to staff, Magda, I don't know if you can comment on this, but are we not able to utilize bylaws that exist in other municipalities and just adapt them to West Elgin? Is it that difficult to do, or am I off base here, or?
Through the chair, no, you're correct. We will not be reinventing new bylaws. Pretty sure we will be following what other municipalities have in place and what actually works. The only problem is the compliance. At this point, it is hard to tell how much work there is going to be involved with chickens. My suggestion would be, if council decides to move on with this project, my suggestion would be to run it as a pilot project for a certain period of time to see, how things are going, and perhaps maybe we can assign a dollar value to extra bylaw enforcement and additional revenue. That would be my only suggestion.
I personally can see a lot of administration time going into this. I mean, acting on complaints, etc., etc. So it could be endless at the end of the day. You really don't know until such times as you've tried it. But I do know there's going to be a whole lot of teething troubles, because a lot of people don't even realise how maybe a chicken can fly over a 4-foot fence, or somebody's garden that's just been sown is going to get holes scratched in it, and they're not going to be very pleased with their neighbour. We're going to meet all these along the line. We all know that, but I'm just wondering what extra administration and that in our office it's going to cause.
Unfortunately, that's the unknown with it. The unknown is going to be the administration. It's going to be the enforcement. It could go extremely well. It could not. We don't know. So certainly, if council would like to go forward with it on a pilot project, I will still bring back a proper policy and to have that in place for the pilot project. But that is certainly at council's discretion.
Councillor Navakis, please.
I agree with Magda. I think a pilot like the other communities have done is probably a great idea. I would point out that all of the pilot projects that I have found in municipalities, bigger, smaller than us, have continued with this program. And just the other point I have to make is through this chicken survey, it has come to my attention how many people in our community have backyard chickens already. So if we are not seeing it in bylaw already as a concern, my hope is that by going through this process and putting some parameters in place, it will continue not to be a huge problem for our bylaw.
Yes, well, let's hope so. Councillor Statham, please.
I just wanted to add to Councillor Navakis's point, in that currently the system that we're operating on is a complaint-based system. So if there is a problem with backyard chickens, that somebody has chickens and they're scratching up the neighbor's garden, for example, we're still responding to that with our bylaw expenditures. We're still investigating that. The bylaw is still going out there. They're still dealing with it. By instituting policies or a bylaw that dictates how residents are to deal with chickens, I feel like we would be, if anything, we're alleviating some of those costs by providing a policy framework for residents to deal with. By not having any kind of framework and just dealing with it on a complaint-based system, I feel like that's going to generate more calls. To be frank, I mean, I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else, but that's how I feel about it. If we're responding on a per case basis when someone complains, as opposed to having a policy in place, I think it makes more sense to have a pilot project with a policy, and that way we're not sending a bylaw officer out there every time Mrs. Smith's hens hop over the fence. But just my thought.
Yeah, any more comments? Councillor Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. So thank you for all the hard work for staff and the survey and the community engaging, and clearly they did. Here's my concern. The majority of folks did acknowledge in the survey that they would be interested in having backyard chickens. But 75% of the people who participated in the survey said they were not interested in paying for licensing fees. That is significantly concerning to me. And I mean, there was no example, of course, as to what those fees would be. But in order to have a program here where we inevitably will require bylaw enforcement and administration to manage this program, there will be costs involved. So I guess my question to council staff is, should we ask that question to the community? What is it that they would be willing to pay as a licensing fee, and then do the math on that to see if it would be justifiable or not?
Thank you. Councillor Navakis.
I agree with what Councillor Denning is saying, but part of me also thinks that's good. Those people who are going to want backyard chickens are going to pay the licensing fee that we institute. And perhaps we don't want everyone having backyard chickens. It's like when I was doing rec programming, people take things more seriously if you license them and you have to pay for it. So I don't think we don't need to ask the community what we want for our licensing fees. I think we should look at other communities, and as a staff, we should decide what it's going to cost. And those people who want to follow our bylaw, get a license and have chickens are going to pay what we're asking them to pay. And if they don't, that's okay. They just don't get chickens.
Okay, anything else? Yes, Deputy Mayor Tellier.
Good evening. Thank you. Through the chair. So people already have chickens and don't have licensing. So why would they say, sure, I want to have licensing? Like, they've already got it. We're complaint based. That's what I'm agreeing with Councillor Denning in regards to. It's just going to be, I don't know. I just think it's going to be a fiasco. I think there's going to be a problem if it's a pilot program. We don't even really technically license our dogs and cats in this community, but we're going to license a chicken. It just doesn't make any sense to me, the licensing part. I agree with backyard chickens. I agree that people want them. But on the other hand, when they did their survey, they weren't talking about the licensing. They didn't seem to want it. And the comments were contradictory to what the survey says people wanted. So it's just very, very convoluted still. And this has taken a lot of staff time already and can't take staff time in the future. And I'm just really worried. I mean, we look at our pool issue last week with people feeling upset about the pool. That took up a lot of staff time, of taxpayers' time to sort that out. And we're going to do the same thing with chickens. And people already have them. It's complaint based. Like, I'm just not understanding it. I'm just not understanding the licensing. If we don't license a dog and a cat, we're going to license a chicken. If people already have them, are they going to be honest and want to license them? Or the other people are like, I'm not putting money forward. I'm doing this for my family to have a few chickens and a little bit of, free eggs or whatever the case may be for themselves and their neighbors and their families. So that's where I'm confused about, or in a quandary about the licensing when people are already doing it. So they're just not going to bother getting licensed. It's my feeling.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Statham.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I agree 100%. It is a little bit of a quandary. To me, when you look at a poll where 82% of residents support having backyard chickens, I think that's an overwhelming majority. And I think that it's our responsibility to ensure that, we're supporting those residents, the 82% that do want them. But we also have to recoup costs. And that is where the licensing comes into play. We're recouping any costs that we would incur as a result of having backyard chickens. So to Councillor Novakis's point, if we institute a fee, people are going to pay it or they're not. And if they don't pay it, then they don't have it. And that's going to cover the costs of our additional staff time. It's going to cover the costs of the bylaw enforcement, which, I mean, to be completely frank, I don't think that that's going to be necessary. I mean, I don't want to beleaguer the point, but if people already have them, the people that already have them are still going to have them, and then they're going to be paying the $25 or $30 or whatever it is. I think we're overestimating the cost that this is going to incur on the municipality, in my view.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Yes.
And I agree, and we could look at it. It usually is a one-time cost. And part of the other reasons why I was looking at this is that right now, anyone who has a chicken in their backyard, technically speaking, should not have chickens in their backyard. And some people get to keep them, and some people don't get to keep them because it is a complaint-based system. And it's just not logical, and it's just not fair, right? So your neighbor to one side of you has chickens, but you're not allowed to have chickens because your neighbor complained. I think that creating a system that is fair, and it also makes it easier for bylaw. If someone has chickens and they haven't paid their fee, then they get a fine, right? Like, there is a cost associated to our bylaw officer going out. But I do agree with Ryan. I think a pilot program would work. I go back to, if all municipalities are facing financial stress and looking for where every dollar comes from, I find it very hard to believe that 13 of them would do a test pilot and keep the program if it was a lot of work for staff and bylaw.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking for a solution. And I'm looking, what does council believe with option one? Has anybody got any idea on it? Yes.
Certainly, the recommendation can be amended, and there could be a third option for staff to bring a pilot project proposal back to council to allow it, again, based on a pilot project. I will reach out to other municipalities, specific ones that had pilot projects, to obtain their policy if it was different from the pilot project versus when they instilled the final. So certainly that can be a third option. So First option is to go forward with working with the necessary departments to allow it. Second option was to reject the option to allow. And then again, a third option is to run a pilot project.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Tellier just wants to have a word.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, just wondering what the pilot project would be, like 1 year, or what are we looking at here? If so, I'm good with option 3 to go ahead with a 1 year pilot project or whatever the normal time span would be.
Councillor Statham, you had your hand up.
Yes. I would like to see the pilot project. That's I would like to see it tested, and if after a specified period of time, whether it be 1 year or 6 months, and again to Deputy Mayor Tellier's point, I'm not sure what that time frame would be. I would leave that to staff, but I would like to see a pilot project, and then we can revisit this in that period of time and decide if it's a benefit to the municipality or not. And if it's not, then we can move on. But at this point, that's my opinion. I would like to move forward with this.
Any more opinions? Okay, so have you got something wrote down for 3? Okay, could you please give me the recommendations, please?
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Terry Tostrup, clerk, regarding backyard chicken survey results, and that council directs staff to bring back a pilot project proposal to allow backyard chickens within the municipality.
Okay, mover. Councillor Navakis, seconder. Councillor Statham, all in favour? It's carried, thank you.
Through the chairs of the chicken or the egg, we'll have to find out.
As long as we don't get henpecked, it'll be okay.
That was
a dad joke. I never heard one.
Okay, so we go, is everybody all right for a break, or do you want anybody need a break? No? Okay, we carry on. So we go to Memorial Sponsorship Bench Program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this was mentioned at the last regular meeting. Deputy Mayor Tellier requested that staff investigate the possibility for a sponsorship program. So I did attach the policy from Southwold. So before I got too in depth with creating a policy for West Elgin, I just wanted to make sure that if this is what council is thinking. I know it was mentioned like a sponsorship bench. The one at Southwold is really, it's for memorial benches, not it doesn't go to sponsorships. So if council, if that's what they're looking to do it, I can encompass memorial benches, sponsorship benches, commemorative benches, whatever it may be within the municipality. So again, the report itself is very vague, so that just so I get some direction from council, if this is what they're thinking and they would like to go forward with it, I can certainly bring a policy back that's geared toward West Elgin. Deputy Mayor Tellier.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you through the chair. Yes, this is exactly it. Looking for memorial or sponsorship, say the Kiwanis or Optimists want to sponsor, or the Lions want to sponsor something. So if we're doing our, say, example revitalization of the park, someone says they'd like a bench here, maybe someone wants to sponsor it versus the municipality putting out the money for a bench. So yeah, or if someone approaches us as is, say, the Scapes, for example, and said our mothers, across from their home where they grew up, where they were raised, and then they have a bench there. Just something along those lines, thinking that would be great if we had a policy for it. Or just even the option for someone if they didn't realize that they could do that. So I appreciate staff for their time for gathering this information. Thank you.
Any council comments on that? Seem to have lost a lot of faces.
I apologize. I'm having internet connectivity issues on this end here. I apologize. I'm on a personal hotspot and it's not working so great. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to ask if you had any questions on that last. No,
None, nope.
none. Okay, so we'll go the recommendation on that one, please.
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Terry Toshchuk, clerk, regarding Memorial Bench Program, and that West Elgin Council directs staff to bring back a memorial and sponsored bench policy for proposal at a future meeting of council.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Telley, seconded. Councillor Denning, all in favour? It's carried, thank you. Volunteer recognition awards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first off, I apologize. I didn't attach the policy itself to the agenda. I did send it out this afternoon to all of council. So when the budget was approved, there was a $10,000 for recognition awards put into the budget. And the idea was that it was going to be combined with our volunteers and the fire department as well. So I did attach, again, I'm using our friends at Southwold have a great policy in place, which allows different categories for people to be recognized: volunteer service, distinguished citizenship, and then a mayor's prestigious award. And then it also recognizes all members from committees, boards, the fire department as well. So moving forward with this, certainly we're a little bit late getting going on it, but it certainly is still doable. So moving forward, I'd get a policy in place and bring that back to council for approval. We could move forward with an event I am proposing in the fall. We can either, proposing that we could rent or utilize one of our own facilities. So speaking with Southwold, they do a catered meal and some decorations, and they recognized all these members. So if that is what council is thinking, with having this recognition award within the budget, then certainly this is something that I would like to start moving forward with to prepare and plan for the event. In their policy, they do have a deadline of June 30th for submissions, but of course we're past that date. So I could put an advertisement out and request that any maybe by the end of September, and then that way that would give time to review the submissions for the awards and choose who we are going to select for the awards at an event in the fall. And I would certainly work with Chief MacArthur as well to ensure that it is a date that works for you and your crews as well to have them there. Did any members of council have any questions?
Well, there's certainly a lot of people out there that deserves recognition.
That's
So
great.
I'd go along with this 100%.
Okay.
And I'm sure council would probably think the same, but any comment from council? Yeah, Deputy Mayor Tellier.
Thank you, through the chair. So back in 2019, brought a motion forward for citizenship awards. We had a deadline also of June 30th, went to the schools and got the suggestions from the schools for youth, and I got the opportunity to present them at the fair on the Friday night during the interlude when the judges were deciding who would be our fair ambassador. So are we moving everybody, are we moving those two policies and combining them? Because we already have a policy for citizenship awards.
Certainly that can be moved together if that's what council wishes to do, or if that is something you're looking to keep separate and keep that as a tradition at the fair, that's entirely up to council.
No, I don't think so, because obviously 2019 was when
Correct.
things were normal, and then things changed. And then people, things changed also with the fair as well and their makeup. I approached the fair last year, didn't hear from them, and then it's new people this year, haven't approached yet. So yeah, just wondering if that was something also that we could look at. What that looked like back then and kind of incorporate it for, I think when Larry Schneider came and he suggested we did something like that, like this, I think it was more the age categories that we could look at for the younger people. So we did like a seniors, a youth, we did an older youth, so someone that was say 18 to 30, like high school, end of high school, college, university age kind of thing. And then we went up from there. And we also did a newcomer to the area award. So, and that person was very excited that they were recognized by their new neighbors, they called them. So that was nice too. So yeah, just if we could look at that age range maybe and incorporate with the other ideas you had, that would be great. I really appreciate all the work going into this. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll look into that to incorporate that into our new policy.
Anyone else got any ideas? Councillor Statham's gone off the Richter scale again. Oh, there he is. Have you got anything to say on that, Ryan?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Terry Toshchuk, clerk, regarding volunteer recognition awards, and that West Elgin Council directs staff to create a policy detailing the volunteer recognition categories and criteria for adoption at the next regular council meeting, and that West Elgin Council direct the clerk to begin preparations for a volunteer recognition event to be held in the fall of 2024.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Tellier. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Committee and board reports or updates. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly on the arena and the arena renaming. As everybody knows, August 24th is our renaming event. The only thing to add is that our committee has secured St. Thomas My FM to be there for the day to play music and conduct interviews throughout the course of the day. Our next council meeting, I think, is the 18th, right? So that's about a week before the event. So I'll make sure I bring with me a full itinerary of all the events that are happening for the preceding week.
Thanks very much for that. Anyone got anything else? I can just say Heritage Homes, as regards Heritage Homes Committee, we sort of held things back because at the moment we haven't got any proper insurance in place. And I don't think it's wise to go any further without some insurance. So we're waiting on that. Nothing else from now on? Okay, we'll go to 12, notice of motion. As everybody, I assume, read the recommendation of going to the county. Has anybody got anything to say on it, or do you want me to speak more on it? I'm going to the county on Tuesday. I'm hoping this will come up in the meeting, and I'll ask for. I wanted a letter of support that they gave us a few years ago, I think in 19, for the town hall, and that also involved the grant that came. And if we need their letter of support again to keep that grant going. So I was going to ask for that for one. Any comments on that? And the next one is, okay. Who was that?
Councillor Statham, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to, through the chair, I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this was a sort of a hot button issue, and I think I appreciate you reaching out. I know a lot of residents wanted some affirmation that was going to take place. So I wanted to say thanks. Thanks for bringing that forward.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. It's I know we've got a good town hall committee, and I think it's going to put them at rest when they get something from the county, and let them carry on and do their good work. Okay, can I have the recommendation, please?
Whereas the municipality of West Elgin was approved in 2019 for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Community Culture and Recreation Stream for the renovation of Old Town Hall Rodney. And whereas on October 24th, 2019, the County of Elgin provided a letter of support in principle to relocate the Elgin County Library Rodney branch to the renovated Old Town Hall upon completion. And whereas the successful grant application included the provision of the Rodney Library being a vital component of the renovated Old Town Hall. Therefore, the continuation of the proposed renovations requires the continued commitment from the Elgin County Council and the Elgin County Library Rodney branch. Now be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Elgin hereby requests a revised letter of commitment from the County of Elgin Council to proceed with the relocation of the Rodney Library to the renovated Rodney Old Town Hall upon completion.
Can I have a mover for that, please? Deputy Mayor Tellerier, seconded by Councillor Statham. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. We go to 12.2. Elgin County Library, West Lawn Branch. Again, I don't know whether you've read all underneath and what it's all about. But anyway, the long and short of it is the West Lawn Library is at capacity. Or very often it's full up. So we've got empty offices right next door to it. And we was going to ask those if they got interest in taking over an office or maybe the entire floor. So I was going to ask County Council and the head librarian guy there that if they've got interest, will they please send us a letter of interest? Okay, Deputy Mayor Tellerier.
So these are very important letters, and I really appreciate you through bringing this ahead. What I'm worried about is both their capacity. For example, there's something going on at Dutton Library in the Rodney branch coming up. I can't remember, it's a space program or something. And the Rodney Library is doing it at the school because we have no place in our area to do it. The rec center, some people say, oh, it's a duplication. It's not, because it's booked full. They can't get in the rec center. There's no place to do it. So they had to go over to the school. Not great for some people. If someone's taking an older child, a younger child is in a buggy or whatever still, they're going onto the road there to get there with no sidewalks. So not the greatest idea. But I also understand West Lawn Library is very busy as well. So my problem or my wondering is, my thoughts here is, we are putting something together at the same time. People like the county council might say, well, Belmont only has one library. Well, I was in Belmont the other day last week, and they don't have not sure what the wording would be, but they aren't polar opposites to each other with huge county roads in between each other. They're all one central town. We were amalgamated in 98. So we are all kind of pushed apart from each other in two little villages and then our little hamlets in between and on the outskirts. So what I'm worried is you can put these two together and they're going to say, pick one. What are we doing? Which one are we supporting at the county library branch level? And we can't just really pick one because we're kind of a unique community, thankfully, in good way, but not in this way. That, like I said before, we're just kind of opposite of each other from two towns after amalgamation. So I'm just a little worried that this is going to put, because the West Lawn branch one's a little more attainable and more what's going to happen right now versus the old town hall. So I'm a little worried about putting them in together, that we're going to be competing with the villages, and that's not what we need, because both villages need their we saw with they both need they both need to be utilized. They both need to have their unique things that they need and bring to each village. So I'm just a little worried that we put them both in the same time, just to reiterate, and they're going to be competition with each other. And also that the Old Town Hall, it's been 5 years that we've been looking at this. We have a committee finally together. The committee is working hard. They're setting up to get funding together for the fall that's coming up that we can apply for. All of it can we can join with the current funding we have, and that Mr. Flack and Ms. Vecchio haven't told us if they're either going to extend that funding or extend the time frame or up the amount to today's dollars. So we still have a couple unsaid things with the Rodney libraries or the library moving in Rodney. So those are just my concerns I wanted to bring forward for having the two of them at the same time, as they could be seen as competition in our unique municipality.
Yeah, I can see your point, but I'd certainly find for both of them for the simple reason, how do you expect the Rodney people or a lot of people to utilise this library? We don't even have a bus service out here, so no, I would certainly fight that one the best as I really could. We need the two, whether it's in the town hall or whether it's in where it is now, which it would be for a few years until the town hall gets done. I was only asking for a letter, to say if they're the same in the same mind as they were when they gave us that letter before. And this, we get empty offices that we're getting no revenue off at all. And
exactly.
So I think,
and they're both very needed. So that's great there that you
I
recognize
would
the need.
well,
and we all recognize
it'll
the
all
need.
be on camera. You can hear exactly what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say one thing to you and say something else different to them. And I would certainly, if they ever thought of taking a Rodney Library away, I'd fight for it tooth and nail.
Yeah, it's just we're just such a, I guess the word is unique, community in that, like when you go to Belmont, it's all one little village, right? And when you go to, I'm trying to think where else, well, even Dunwich, it's all compact in one village. Well, we're separated so much that it's not that way for the people that are utilizing the libraries. They just, as you said, you can't go from Rodney all the way to West Lorne and vice versa, West Lorne to Rodney for our branches. We have to have two branches, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for us, but unfortunately for maybe someone might look at it as in a cost effective on a piece of paper that might not be looking so great, but it is something that we need to have, is the two branches in our community. So
West
yeah,
Elgin
just
is
wanted to point
spread
that
out.
out. Yeah,
West
but just
Elgin is
because of
spread out.
amalgamation.
I'd like, I call it all West Elgin. I don't like saying Rodney and splitting them into two and West Lawn. We're all one. But
We are all one, but the way these
we're set
papers
out,
are, yeah.
the way we're set out, that's why we have two fire stations. I mean, it's unfortunately we got two villages and they're at the far side of our municipality. And so I think we've got to keep them. So yes, Councillor Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Deputy Mayor, for your comments as well. Perhaps we should just consider staggering the letters and keeping the focus on Rodney first and then West Lorne second, even if these two letters are sent out two different county council meetings apart, just to make sure that the emphasis is applied on each one at a time, agreeing that both letters are important to get sent out, but just one at a time.
Yeah. Fun? Okay, Michelle. Councillor Den, Navakis.
I see what Teresa's point is. But I mean, we've already kind of put this in our agenda. And you do not meet every week. And we have two proposals forward, and we have a grant that would probably no longer be valid if the library chooses not to move into the old town hall. We have a committee, and it has been, as Teresa says, almost 5 years that we've been working on this. My suggestion is we should submit both the letters at the same time instead of wasting yet another 2 weeks if the library does decide to pull out, because that will completely change what we are looking at with the old town hall.
Yeah, exactly, but that's not what we obviously that's not what we want to hear. And
Well,
so,
no, it's not, but we are also talking about the fact that everybody is facing budget crises. We are presenting an option to Elgin County that is least expensive in the West Lauren building. I think we should all just acknowledge that. What I'm saying is you have two letters. It is better for us to know so we know what we're dealing with. I'd prefer to submit these letters both at the same time so that County Council and Elgin County Library can tell us what direction they're going in so that we can have a more informed discussion about the future of the Old Town Hall.
I agree with that one too. You know, and then, you know, everybody knows exactly where we stand on it. But I'll represent the two just as I want the two. And I mean, the other one is not tomorrow. It's a promise down the road. It's a letter I want with intent that if the town hall does get complete and the library is room there, that they would opt to move the library into it. That's the letter I need. That keeps the grant money live and everybody has something to work at, definite, that they know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'd hate to see it done and then we can't fill it. Okay. Oh. Deputy Mayor Tellier?
Yeah, through the chair. Thank you for that. I appreciate all the comments as well. So I like the idea of putting them together and staggering it. Both have their positives. So I'm just wondering, when this agenda came out, a couple people on the Old Town Hall committee right now asked if they were allowed to submit something, you know, if you needed backup or something from the committee, when this goes to county council. Is that something that we could or should do, or what are people's thoughts on that? I wasn't sure. I thought I'd just bring it ahead.
Well, I'm at loss on that one. Could you?
Through the chair, I don't think the purpose of both letters is because there is a need, and when staff are connected with Elgin County Library, the numbers for both libraries support expansion. Since, you know, the space is available here in West Lauren, we thought, you know, this is an opportunity for the municipality, an opportunity to expand the library and offer our community the programming that the county library always wanted to run, but couldn't do some of them due to this limited space. At this point, I don't think any input, any community input is necessary. It's just, you know, number one, council and staff would like to know if there is a commitment from the Elgin County to see Old Town Hall renovated and have the library expanded as we had as the original plans. And then, of course, West Lauren is different. There is a lot of residents attending that library, perhaps treated as a separate need. So.
Well, the trouble is,
Yeah, I just
Rodney
thought I'd
can't.
bring that forward. So bring that forward
Yeah.
from the committee members, but I'll let them know that it's not needed at this time. It's more a municipality to county thing. I just wanted to make sure that I did bring that forward. And yes, I remember years ago, this is when my kids were little, John Rose Stilton came for a visit in West Lauren Library. And yeah, we were out in the hallway. So it is a need, and that was how many years ago, and I'm sure the readership and the need is even, patronage is even bigger now. So West Thorn is needed to expand. I'm not arguing that. They both do. They both, as you said, have the numbers showing that they need expansion in both libraries. So thank you for that.
So Rodney, if they need, they can't expand Rodney at the moment because there's lack of room. So I mean, there's the incentive right off the bat. We'll give them more room. They can put everything they want to do with Rodney Library if it moves into a place that allows them to do so. Any more questions on it? I'm going to do my best. But we need to have something from them. Okay, can we have the recommendations, please?
Whereas the County of Elgin Library Branch, West Lorne Branch is operating at facility capacity, and whereas the municipality has a vacant unit in the West Lorne Community Complex located adjacent to the West Lorne Library, and whereas recent interactions with Elgin County staff have indicated a need for the vacant space to increase user capability and programming, now therefore West Elgin Council hereby requests a letter from Elgin County Council and the Elgin County Library indicating the space required, either being the space adjacent to the current library only or the entire upper units of the West Lorne Community Complex.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Denning, seconded. Deputy Mayor Tellier, all in favour? It's carried, thank you. Council inquiries and announcements. Correspondence. Okay, so Michelle, didn't you want to bring some of these up?
I think that they may have all been me. So
Yeah.
the first one was the asset retirement obligation, and I think that Terry did reach out to Madam CAO. This is just supporting a motion asking for support from the province as they've asked us to take on more responsibility. And then I can quickly do the rest of the three because I think they're the same thing. It is basically just supporting other municipalities and asking our provincial government to look at our increased costs and supporting small municipalities as we face these challenges.
Yeah, that's correct. Can I have anybody got any? Okay, can I have the recommendation, please?
Would you like me to read each recommendation? Okay.
Okay.
So the first one relates to number item 14, correspondence. That recommendation was missed. Was there any other items under the correspondence 14.1, 2, or 3 that council would like to discuss at all? Okay, so the recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receive and file all correspondence not otherwise dealt with.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Statham, seconder. Deputy Mayor Tellier, all in favour? It's carried, thank you.
So item 15.1, the asset retirement obligation that Councillor Navakis just spoke to. The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby acknowledge receipt of the letter dated June 26, 2024 from the Corporation of the Town of Cobalt regarding asset retirement obligations, and that council hereby support the resolution from the Town of Cobalt, and further that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honourable Paul Calandra, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, AMCTO, MPP Rob Flack, MP Karen Vecchio, and the Town of Cobalt.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Michelle Navakis, councillor. Councillor Denning, all in favour? It's carried, thank you. (15.2) Rural and small urban municipalities, affordable water and wastewater systems.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby acknowledge receipt of the letter dated July 4th, 2024 from the Corporation of the Town of Tecumseh regarding rural and small urban municipalities, affordability of water and wastewater systems, and that council hereby support the resolution from the Town of Tecumseh, and further that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Kinga Surma, Minister of Infrastructure, Ontario, the Honorable Dominique LeBlanc, Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Infrastructure and Communities Canada, the Honorable Paul Calandra, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Honorable Andrea Kanjan, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks Ontario, the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, AMCTO, MPP Rob Black, MP Karen Vecchio, and the Town of Tecumseh.
Anybody want to talk on that? Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Navakis. Seconded, Councillor Statham. All in favour? It's carried, thank you. Request to the Province of Ontario for the new provincial municipal fiscal framework.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby acknowledge receipt of the letter dated July 8th, 2024 from the Corporation of the Township of Emo regarding new provincial municipal fiscal framework, and that council hereby support the resolution from the Township of Emo, and further that a copy of this resolution and letter be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Finance, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, AMCTO, MPP Rob Black, MP Karen Vecchio, and the Township of Emo.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning, seconded. Councillor Navakis. All in favour? It's carried, thank you. Operational budget funding.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby acknowledge receipt of the letter dated July 8th, 2024 from the Corporation of the Township of Emo regarding operating budget funding, and that council hereby support the resolution from the Township of Emo, and further that a copy of this resolution and letter be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Finance, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks, Treasurers of Ontario, AMCTO, MPP Rob Black, MP Karen Vecchio, and the Township of Emo.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Navakis. Seconded. Councillor Statham. All in favour? It's carried, thank you. Liquor licence notification, July 27th, 2024. Wedding.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby acknowledge receipt of the event notification from Sarah Harries for the private outdoor event being a wedding to be held at 25889 Downey Line for Kyle Krebs and Stephanie Harries to be held on Saturday, July 27th, 2024 as a requirement from the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGCO.
Mover, please. Councillor Statham. Seconded. Deputy Mayor Tellier, all in favour? Carried. Thank you. Crosswalk in Rodney. I've talked numerous times to the county about West Lawn and Rodney. And it seems because the width of the road, they won't put a crosswalk right across the road. They want to put jut outs on either side, so the walking distance isn't as far, which, looking at it, it's rather expensive. It's around, I think, 46,000. But apart from that, it's more difficult for parking. It's more difficult for snow removal. Lee, I don't want to put you in the spot, but have you got anything to say on these crosswalks?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. So staff did receive correspondence from a resident regarding crosswalk in Rodney in particular, across Furnival Road. So in advance of the meeting, I did reach out to the county engineer, as I remember there being some discussion around this during the engineering phase of the Rodney reconstruction. So as you know, the crosswalk isn't just as simple as painting two white lines on the asphalt. By OTM, the Ontario Traffic Manual, there's certain layouts that are to be used. when when a pedestrian crossing is installed. So for Furnival Road, there was a traffic study done. There was a study done as part of the engineering phase for the Rodney reconstruction. And that identified that there was not enough pedestrian traffic crossing to warrant having a signalized crossing on Furnival Road. That being said, the county engineer did convey that if council wished that study to be done again, that should be forwarded on to the county. They would look at that. They would do that study again. They would need to know exactly where council wanted that crossing, because that determines, would it be at Harper Street by the bank? Would it be at Mariah Street by the post office? Because they would have to focus that study on that exact area in order to get proper numbers. So if the study found that a pedestrian crossing was warranted, now the county would look at installing, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, the level of crossing that would be installed. There would be two options. It would certainly be signalized, or it would have flashing lights, signage and flashing lights. The county would not support a type 1 crossing there, so it would be a level 2. You are going to, at the point of where that crossing crosses Furnival Road, you're going to lose 30 meters of parking in advance of that crossing, both directions, and you're going to lose 15 meters of parking on the downstream side of that crossing. So you're going to lose 45 meters of parking on both sides of that crossing, on both sides of the street from that crossing. So certainly for Rodney downtown is not overly blessed with parking stalls to begin with. So that is going to cut into that. The other thing that you mentioned is the bump outs, they call them. So where they bring the sidewalk, the concrete sidewalk, actually there's small islands that come in, so it makes the crossing a shorter distance. So the sidewalk actually comes out beyond to the edge of the parking lane, so that the crosswalk or the pedestrian crossing is just the traveled portion of the lane. That reduces the amount of parking stalls that you'll lose. Now you're 15 meters in advance and 10 meters on the downstream side. So you're losing 25 meters instead of 45. But that certainly increases the cost. So to have it traditionally signed without the bump outs, you're somewhere probably in that 40,000 range. To redo the whole sidewalk, which means, cutting into the road, installing that, the county engineer is estimating that it's somewhere, probably $70,000 to $80,000 to install that crossing. So, if you wish that to be done, that request would have to go to the county engineer. If it's warranted, that's something that the county would look at in a future budget cycle for installation purposes. If it doesn't warrant it and West Elgin Council felt that they wanted to move forward with that anyways, which has occurred in Dutton Dunwich and the town of Elmer in the county, the county engineer would not have an issue with that being done, but that cost would be solely borne by the local municipality. Like I said, in 2020, late 2019, early 2020, as part of the engineering phase of the Rodney reconstruction, that study was undertaken, and at that time it was deemed that there was not sufficient pedestrian traffic to warrant that crossing.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Tellier, I know you've had numerous complaints. Whereabouts were they sort of complaining about the most on the roads?
So they cross at Queen and Furnival. A lot of people coming into the village, so going south, just come really quickly. You can't really see them around the old Fordham building. I did explain that it's a county road, that is a process, everything that Lee's just explained basically. But I wanted to clarify about the numbers. So if the municipality wanted to put a crosswalk in there on our own, we'd have to A, get the county's blessing for that, and B, what was the pricing on that?
Through the chair, I'm just looking at the email here. So if a crossing without without the bump outs, which would eliminate more parking stalls, that would be in the range of 40 to 50,000. And then a pedestrian crossing with the bump outs, which would, you know, save you some parking spaces, that they're estimating at roughly 70 to 80,000.
Okay, I lost your audio there for a second earlier when you were speaking, so that's why just clarifying. Okay, that's great. Thank you for the information. But mostly there, a couple people have said about Mariah across from the post office there, only because it's in the middle of the village and it made a little more sense. And I believe there's several bus stops right there as well. So those are the two spots that people have approached me about.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else got? Yes, Councillor Navakis.
It would be great if we had the money for those crosswalks because I think they're needed. I would just put out there that I would also be really hesitant to spend Rodney or money on crosswalks in Rodney when we're not addressing the corner of Graham and Main Street first, which is becoming incredibly dangerous.
Yes, I agree, really. Councillor Denning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. To Councilor Navakis's point number one, I think with regards to our intersection here in West Lorne, we need to be strategic with the county work coming up, make sure that they know that we would like to have a study done about this intersection and implementing a crosswalk when they do that work. Number two, it's been 5 years since the study about the traffic on Furnival Road. Perhaps it wouldn't hurt to ask the county to do another study to see if the Furnival Road does in fact justify a crosswalk at this point, or if it's still not to capacity where it is considered justified. It might be a reasonable first step.
Yes.
Through the chair. So yeah, that's certainly something that could be sent to them. But I think we would need some direction as to exactly where council feels that should be. That would be when we talk about Graham and Main here at an intersection, that's a very different thing. You know, with having signalized crosswalks like you would see traditionally in downtown London, places like that, which is what would be required here, which is going to be far more expensive and should be done in conjunction with, you know, the rehabilitation of Main Street here down the road. What we're talking about in Rodney, I think, it's what we'd call a mid-block crosswalk. So it's not at an intersection per se. It's just taking traffic from one side of the street, pedestrian traffic from one side of the street to the other. But like I said, he was very specific in that if that request is going to be made, that there needs to be some direction as to where you feel that would be best placed.
Yes.
To that point, then I would say I don't think it's as important where that crosswalk is in Rodney. If it's justifiable based on a study that it is needed, a crosswalk somewhere on Furnival that does the least amount of negative impact to our parking would be the reasonable place in my mind.
Any more ideas? Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, I was just going to say through the chair, the same thing as Councillor Denning in regards to where the crosswalk is. And I do when I brought this letter and was discussing to see if Mayor Leatham had similar letters, we both initially said we think we need to solve West Lorne before Rodney if we had to choose for funding one, because West Lorne is very, very busy. Speaking to Rodney back again, I'm just going to jump back. I think the timing of the year is important of when the study is. I don't know, we probably can't dictate that, but it seems to be way busier right now with kids on their bikes going back and forth to the pool, kids on their bikes going to friends' houses and to the park and that whole area, and campers in the area. It's very, very busy downtown. I know I went this morning and to do some errands, and well, there was no parking, and it was just extremely busy. So I think it matters in the time of year too, but we probably can't dictate that. But just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
If we're going to ask the county that, I was wondering if we ask Mr. Gosnell to have a look at that street and see what where he thinks it won't affect the parking so bad, and which probably is the best place to put it. Would Lee, is that possible?
Certainly we can look at, we can do a little bit of pre-planning and just see. I think that you're going to want to keep it somewhere in that area between Harper Street and Mariah Street. Because you have to look at people, especially in a small town, are not going to walk a long distance just to use a crosswalk.
No, they're not.
A pedestrian crossing. I know it sounds great. But if you're coming out of the bank and you're wanting to go to the grocery store, you're not going to walk to the post office and cross the street and walk back to the grocery store. We know that.
No.
So, that certainly that northern half of town probably typically is busier with the grocery store and the bank and the post office, versus the southern half, which would be down closer to the ice cream shop and, the restaurant. But like I said, it's, I think it's going to be, there will be people that will use it. But there will be you'll find a lot of people will still, and that was one of the comments with even the one that was put in Dutton Dunwich, which did not meet the criteria. They put it in. There is still a lot of people that go straight across the street.
It's too far to get to.
Point A to point B. But we can certainly look at where it would have the least amount of impact on and it's going to be difficult because there's rules about having it close to entrances, right? Like it has to be so many meters from an entrance. So that could be an entrance to the grocery store parking lot. We have to stay away from that. It's going to be, we may not have a lot of choice as to where that can be placed in Rodney, but we will certainly look at that. Is that, is that something that you would like me to bring back to you before we send the request to the county with a spot? Or if we determine that there's one or two places that it can go, do you want that to be just sent?
Is there a cost from the county for that for them to check how many people are crossing that street?
In my discussions, there was no mention of there being there will be a cost. Certainly there will be a cost to do the study. That's the county would have to have a third party consultant come in to do that, which was done at the beginning of as part of the pre-planning for the reconstruction. But that was not mentioned that cost would be passed along to West Elgin.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Novakis.
I'm just wondering, because we're doing this because people are driving too fast and not paying attention going through our main streets is ultimately what the problem is. A number of municipalities have changed their neighborhoods and their main street communities to 40 kilometers and are using things such as the green pylons to slow traffic down, which seems to be being done because it's inexpensive or a less expensive way than adding crosswalks. I'm just wondering if we're open to maybe looking at other ways to be controlling the speed of traffic on our main streets?
Good point. I think it'd be handy to have a look to see if there's a place where it could be put. And then we get in touch maybe with the county or look at these other options. I mean, it's a county road, you've got to go to the county anyway, even if you try to reduce the speed.
Through the chair, maybe if with council's blessing, maybe staff can take this back and you know, have some more discussion with the county engineer. And there's a lot of things to look at here. Furnival Road obviously isn't part of the EDR system. So that plays into it with 401. And you know, there are, as Councillor Navakis says, there are other alternatives. You know, going back in historical photos from Rodney, there was no crosswalk across Furnival Road before the construction. So yes, it was reconstructed. Everything was painted out. It was all lined according to the Ontario Traffic Manual. It's not there now, but certainly I don't think Beans is how it never was, and it isn't now. I don't think, you know, another few weeks or another council meeting to do a little bit of investigation and then bring something back to see if there's a better alternative versus you know, having the county have to go through the process of a traffic study to spend that money again, you know, on something that was just done a few years ago that said that it wasn't warranted. So
I personally don't think you can go any better than that. I think that's a good idea. Okay, is that, council go along with that? I think it sounds like a good idea to me. Okay, so that was one of our discussions. Rodney, pool fees. Is that on the agenda today?
Through the chair, no, we had a very detailed discussion at Monday's council meeting.
Yeah.
The only thing I would like to add is that last night I attended Recreation Committee meeting. And the committee is also involved with the pool. We are planning right now. Unfortunately, we can't control the cost. However, it was decided that you know, community feedback. Now is a perfect time to reach out to the community and obtain some feedback. So staff is currently working on different type of surveys. One is will be pertaining to swimming lessons in particular. The other survey will pertain to open swims, and then of course aquafit. We will be reaching out to the community, asking for additional input, ideas, you know, so we can kind of make this pool more accessible to everyone. And at the same time, on a positive note, this morning I learned that generous donation was made to the municipality by a local resident, local farmer, and who is a lifelong resident. And his intent was of donation is to support the pool, to support low-income families that cannot afford swimming time for their kids. So with council authorization, staff would like to allocate this money towards an open swim for the remainder of the pool season.
Well, all I can say, that sounds like excellent news to me. I don't know what anybody else can say about that. Councillor Statham.
I just wanted to voice my sincere thank you to that particular farmer that put his own funds forward to make sure that the pool was funded fully. So thank you very much, whoever you are. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So. Have we got a recommendation for that at all or not? We haven't. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break right now. Okay, thank you. Welcome back. What should we?
So we're going to revisit item number
Okay.
15.7, and there's a recommendation that West Elgin Council authorize staff to utilize the anonymous pool donation to cover the fees for all open swims for the remainder of the season.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Navakis. Seconded by Councillor Statham. All in favour? It's carried. I don't know the Tress is having trouble coming back on, but oh, there she is. Okay, so we go to the next one. 15.8, notice of council's decision to petition the municipality of Dutton Dunwich, government number 1, drain north.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receive the notice of council's decision to petition pursuant to the Drainage Act from the municipality of Dutton Dunwich regarding government number 1 drain and corresponding report and motion. And that council hereby approve the request from Dutton Dunwich to combine the project with the current improvement project for the government number 1 drain north in the municipality of West Elgin.
Okay, does everybody understand that one? Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Denning. Seconded. Councillor Statham. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. 16, upcoming meetings.
Prior to reading out the meetings, I'd just like to note the initial agenda mentioned August 8th or August 1st as our special meeting. However, due to scheduling, we are proposing that it is August 8th at 4 o'clock. That is for the purpose of discussing the regarding economic development committees and recreation committees. Is all of council available for August 8th at 4 o'clock?
I see Deputy Mayor Tellier shaking her head.
My awesome mother is turning 85 that day, so I'd enjoy spending the day with her.
Okay. Good. Anyone else? Can everybody make the 8th or not? No, she should be there. Why don't we carry it on the 1st? And I'll be absent. If I can get out of hospital quick enough and I feel well enough, then I'll attend.
Is the 6th available? Or a different day?
Pardon? Well, I'll make it as best I can for 4 o'clock. Let's keep it to the 1st. If everybody can make the 1st, and I'll do my best to attend.
Okay.
Because it's important that Deputy Mayor attends that meeting.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. Okay, then, so we'll go along with that.
Okay, for upcoming meetings, we have the Four Counties Transit meeting on Monday, July 22nd at 8:30 a.m. And then we'll have our special meeting August 1st at 4 o'clock to discuss the Economic Development Committee and the Recreation Committee. Arena Board, August 14th at 9 a.m. Quarter Revision, August 15th at 3:30 p.m. Regular council meeting will be August 15th at 4 o'clock p.m. And then Tri-County Water Board will be August 20th at 7 o'clock p.m.
Okay, Council, Deputy Mayor Tellier,
And we have a town hall meeting on the 23rd at 7 p.m. of July.
okay. Thank you. Anything else? No more meetings? We go to 17.1. South Rodney Drain Provisional Reading.
That bylaw 2024-52, being a bylaw to provide for drainage works on the South Rodney Drain in the municipality of West Elgin, be read a first and second time.
Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier. Seconded, Councillor Statham. All in favour? It's carried, thank you. 17.2, Planning.
That bylaw 2024-53, being a bylaw to amend the municipality of West Elgin comprehensive zoning bylaw number 2015-36 for property at 19911 Pioneer Line, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning. Seconded, Councillor Statham. All in favour? It's carried, thank you. Sewer and Drain Provisional Reading.
That item's being removed from the agenda as council directed the engineer to go back to review that report.
Do we need a mover and seconder for that? No. That is correct. Establishment of Public Highway.
That bylaw 2024-55, being a bylaw to dedicate and establish lands known as public highway to be known as part of Coley Road, PIN number 35144-0101, Coley Road, between Creenan Line and Stalker Line, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Mover, please. Councillor Statham. Seconded, Councillor Denning. All in favour? It's carried, thank you. Confirming bylaw.
That bylaw 2024-56, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on July 18th, 2024, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Tellier. All in favour? It's carried. And the next one is adjournment.
That West Elgin Council hereby adjourn at 6:51 p.m. to meet again at 4 o'clock p.m. on Thursday, August 1st, 2024, special meeting or at the call of the chair.
Mover, please.
My apologies. Did you miss the confirming bylaw?
It was read prior to this adjournment.
Sorry. My apologies. Sorry.
All right, to adjourn, I want a mover. Councillor Novakis. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Tellier. All in favour? Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great work. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.